Boom! Hello, Internet, and welcome to another day of the Quarantine Vlogs. My name is Brandon. I am still under quarantine, but I wanted to use these days to talk about travel with you. So let's talk briefly about the coronavirus. It's pretty well taken over the world at this point. If you don't know much about it, I consider yourself very lucky. Let's talk about traveling with a pandemic like the coronavirus. So I want to talk about, I guess, first how serious it is. And that's one of the big reasons I wanted to kind of talk about traveling in the era of a worldwide pandemic. There are two questions I wanted to address in this video. First, should you travel? Should you be traveling now? And secondly, what will travel look like in the future? The first question I would say, should you travel now? The answer is no. It's a hard no. You should not be traveling now. Not just to keep yourself safe, but to keep others safe. So we know, that we can spread it to others even though we might not have symptoms or might have a mild case ourselves. So the more you travel, the more at risk you put other people. Especially if you're in a country like Europe or the United States where the outbreak is either really big or just kind of starting. The more you travel, the more you risk spreading something like this. The other reason I think it's important to not travel right now is out of respect. And here's what I mean by that. Respect is important, and especially in this scenario where for those of you who are still able to travel, a lot of countries have closed down borders, but for those of you who are still able, you shouldn't, because if you go to one of these countries, it's very likely that they would close their borders or that you might get trapped out of your own country, or worse yet, you might get sick in that country. And if you do, then you're using up resources from that government, from that healthcare system, from that country, and taking it away from their citizens and their people because you were selfish enough to travel. Whereas if you stayed at home, you might not have gotten sick in the first place. Or you would have been able to use your own healthcare system, your own insurance, and I think that's important. I think that's an important thing to keep in mind. The other thing to think about is that you might not be able to travel the way you want to. You might be able to book that super cheap flight to the Bahamas or to wherever right now, but there's a good chance that you'll get stuck there. You won't be able to leave, or you won't be able to come back, and a lot of United States citizens right now are stuck abroad. Because of the last-minute travel ban and the shutdowns of borders and countries. So it's a big risk to take, and you have to have some deep pockets to be able to travel abroad. If you do get stuck somewhere, it can be very expensive to just extend your stay by who knows how long. The other thing I want to talk about is travel in the future. So I think we're going to see a very different environment for travel for the next 2 years. I think that we're going to have an environment where it's going to go one of two ways. I would guess the first way is more likely. The first way, I think we're going to see people not have the funds to travel. We're going to see people be afraid to travel. And we're going to see more countries have more stringent limitations on who can travel. And the reason I say that is that it's a virus. It's not a war. With something like a war, once the peace treaty is signed, it's over. Theoretically, that's it. Once the war is won, done, and you can start traveling again. With something like a virus, even staying at home more and social distancing more, well, it's still going to be out there. We're not going to totally eliminate it in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or a month of just social distancing. So if you start traveling again, it can start to spike again. It will start to grow again as a pandemic. So I think that travel over the next year is going to be very, very limited, and I think it should probably stay that way. I think it's a good time to work hard to find a new job if you've been fired or laid off, like me, or use that time to plan your next trip and save up for your next trip, because in the next year or two, I think traveling is going to be something we're going to want to try to steer clear of as best we can. Those are just my thoughts, my kind of personal thoughts on the whole thing. But I do think it's important to stay in your own country while this outbreak is happening. And even after this outbreak is mostly contained, I think it's important to kind of stay put, at least for a few months, to give scientists and authorities the chance to either develop vaccines, know enough about it to know whether or not we have some sort of immunity after you get it once, to learn a little bit more about this virus. So I think it's important to stay put for a little while and not let the travel bug drive you too crazy. If it does, you can always rewatch some of my old videos, and there's lots of other great travel YouTubers out there as well that you can watch. So hopefully that's enough to kind of fill your travel void for now, and I will see you tomorrow in the next episode of the Quarantine Vlogs.